once from the watchtower. Not alarm, not panic, just the start of another day. Smoke drifted thin across the village, carried on the damp morning air. People moved like clockwork, sharpening blades, checking watch posts, setting spears in neat stacks by the gates. No chatter. Everyone here knew the forest listened. Jerome stood at the scratched-up metal sheet they called a map, charcoal in hand. His eyes looked sunk in, like sleep hadn't touched him in days. Rhea was at his side, coil of pitchcord looped over her shoulder, machete hanging low across her back. When I got close, Jerome pointed to a section of the map. "You're on first rotation," he said. With Rhea, patrol the Bigfoot dogmen seam. Check if the Bigfoot marker lines shifted. Harvest berries if they're still ours. Then you come back breathing. I frowned. What happens if the line moved? His jaw tightened. If it's closer to us, Bigfoot are pressing forward. We lose food ground, maybe hunting paths. If it's pushed out, dogmen are forcing them back. That's worse. Dogmen test seams before they move in for real. Either way, balance breaks, and when balance breaks, someone bleeds for it. He pointed again, tapping a jagged line. Sometimes it doesn't move clean. Sometimes it shivers. Shivers. Jerome nodded once. A border trembling. One section bowed out, another pulled back, like it can't decide where to settle. That means pressure's building, but no one's taken ground yet. Bigfoot, unsettled. Dogmen probing. Sometimes it's the rift itself flexing. You never trust a seam once it shivers. Next day, it breaks. He handed me a spear. Point was obsidian, black glass sharp enough to slice with a breath, bound in copper and resin. The haft wrapped in worn leather that smelled of smoke. Rhea passed me a sling stocked with 3 flares, a striker, a lighter, a coil of cord, and a pouch of gray ash that stank like burned bone. No guns, Jerome said. Noise calls more than you can fight. Fire, ash, quiet feet. That's how you survive your first patrol. Rhea jerked her chin toward the east gate. We keep to the seam. If dogmen press too close, we cut into neutral ground. No south, no lake basin, no vampire brush. Understood. I wanted to ask for a map, a compass, something that told me there was still an edge somewhere. But Jerome's words echoed, edges loop. That answer sat in my gut like stone. The hatch opened. We slipped through, and the woods swallowed us whole. Rhea set a runner's pace, steady and clean. I matched her, boots light on the outside edge of each step. No crunching deadfall. No vines with teeth. Nothing that twitched when the wind didn't touch it. The first stretch was neutral ground. Termite mounds rose everywhere, some up to my waist, sealed in clay skins. A few pulsed faint, like something dreaming inside. Rhea lobbed a pebble. One slit cracked open, hissed a breath, then sealed again. They're quiet now, she said, but never walk a straight line through them. They read lines. You keep a curve. We curved. The air picked up a metallic tang, sharp, like a coin pressed to the tongue. Ahead, the ground rose, then dipped again into a low pass between 2 ridges, the kind hikers call a saddle. Trees bent heavy at the top, their crowns lacing together like fingers. Rhea crouched, brushed leaf litter away, and revealed the marker line. It was unmistakable once I saw it. Twigs braided with grass, jawbones laid like commas, triangles all pointing one way. Every third stone notched. A shaved stick angled toward the darker forest, where the ground looked torn up by countless feet. That's Bigfoot's edge, Rhea whispered. Respect it, and they let you live. Cross it, and you'd better leave a gift and an apology. I studied it hard. This wasn't just warning. It was language. Borders flexed like muscle. If it bowed outward, something was pushing from behind. If it pulled back, they were retreating. If it shivered, The whole balance was off. Borders like this had rhythm, and rhythm meant maybe the rift itself breathed. If it breathed, maybe I could learn the pattern. Maybe even find a crack in it. Rhea pinched ash from her pouch, dusted a faint line along our side. The smell hit sharp and bitter. "They hate the stink of their dead," she said. "The cloth tells us if they walked a line. The ash tells us if they crossed it. If both change, that means war." She tied red cloth strips on branches every few paces. A soft crack came from the firs. My chest locked. A massive shoulder moved through green, careful hands, easing a trunk aside instead of breaking it. An eye looked at us, brown, deep, not hungry, but heavy. Rhea dipped her head, palms open. I copied her. The eye blinked once, slow, then withdrew. The sound faded away. "We're allowed to work," she said. We followed the seam, planting cloth, marking ash, until we found 3 fresh gouges in bark, high and deep. Rhea touched a splinter to her nose. "Dogmen," she muttered. 3, 1 old, 2 fresh. A howl rolled out from the dogman's side. It wasn't a rush. It was lazy, testing. Another answered from left, heavier, deeper. A third slid in late from behind. Thin, wrong, like a breath forced through a crack. "The half circle," Rhea said. "Probe, shadow, pinch. What stops it? Fire buys minutes. Respect buys space. Numbers buy odds." We reached a shallow bowl where salmonberry bushes grew thick. The canes bowed with fruit, dark blue and sweet-smelling. This was why the seam mattered. Winter without food was worse than teeth in the dark. We picked fast, cloth sacks filling in silence. I couldn't stop replaying the border in my head. Triangles, notches, bows. If they weren't fixed, then maybe nothing here was fixed. If nothing was fixed, then there had to be a break in the loop. A way out. Another howl came. Closer now, like warm-up was over. The second slid right. The thin breath stayed behind us. Rhea tied off the sacks, shoved one into my arms. "New route," she said. "We don't run home on the line they've already drawn." We cut into a gully. The ground here glistened with a skin of clay and shallow water, smooth as glass. At first glance, it looked harmless, but the surface shifted in slow circles, like something heavy beneath was stirring. "Mia," Rhea breathed. "Meerlings live here. Stay on the roots. Toes to heels." I followed her step to step, balancing on roots that jutted like knuckles. Halfway across, the film rose. A pale torso broke the surface, waist dissolving into a skirt of long, flat tendrils. The head lifted, eyeless, just a round, lamprey mouth lined with black teeth. Tendrils uncoiled, tasting the air. "They strip you alive. Don't fall," Rhea said softly. The mouth pulsed. A low throb rolled through the gully. The slick quivered. 3 smaller mouths opened nearby. Tendrils slid out, brushing roots. One touched wood, recoiled when water dripped down it. Rhea lit a torch and swung it slowly back and forth toward the Meerling's direction, keeping them at bay for now. They still inched closer and closer to us, just at a slower pace. "Keep moving," she said. "Same steps. Don't rush. Can't risk falling in. Stay composed and keep pushing." When we reached solid ground, the creatures in the gully slowly went back under the shallow waters, waiting for their next victims. Another howl skimmed close. The pressure was tightening. Rhea touched my elbow, tapped her throat. "Hear it. They're shaping a circle, trying to close us in. This is how they hunt when together. We need to keep moving to disrupt their rhythm." We entered a corridor where trees formed a long aisle. The light dimmed like a theater before curtains. The air stank of fur and copper. Rhea lifted her hand, made a circle with her finger, and pointed up. Something clung to the trunk above us, folded tight against the bark. Lean body, wings wrapped like a cloak. The seam of its face split open, lipless and pink, teeth like needles. A string of saliva hit the leaves with a tap. "Night tongue," Rhea whispered. "It drops from above, with terrifying high-pitched screams to freeze you. Flares blinded." She rolled a flare into her palm. "If it dies, pop the flare and follow the light, not the scream." I tightened my grip on the spear. The obsidian head gleamed faint and hungry in the dim. The night tongue clung to the trunk like it had been painted there. Its wings were folded tight, a torn leather cloak pressed flat against bark. The seam down its face quivered, vertical and lipless, teeth wet and needle-fine. "It waits for the drop," Rhea whispered. "It wants you looking up when it screams." I tried to stare at her hands instead of its face. The scream came anyway, a blade of sound that sliced the quiet clean. My knees went weak. The creature let go and fell, wings flaring. Rhea popped a flare, white fire roaring to life. The night tongue twisted away from the light and smashed into Duff, claws ripping dirt as it scrambled back. Rhea shoved the flare higher until the glow washed the trunk. The thing clung flat again, trying to vanish into shadow. "Move," she said. "Keep the light between us and it." We slipped past, eyes low, steps soft. The flare's hiss rode our heels. The night tongue screamed once more, thinner now with light in its face. Rhea wedged the flare into the roots behind us and jogged on. "That buys us a minute," she said. "Dogmen hate sudden noise. That hiss messes their rhythm." 3 voices answered from the woods. One high and sharp, one deep and heavy, one slow and lazy. Rhea listened as we ran. That sharp howl is the scout, fast and curious. The deep one is the anchor. It blocks an exit. The slow one is the herder. It pushes you where they want you. 3 means a probe. If you hear 5, that means a hunt. 5 means they've committed. "I get it," I said, even though my mouth felt dry. We cut toward the scene, trusting the Bigfoot border to buy us space. Red cloth tags flickered between trunks. I wanted those little flashes to mean safety. We reached a strip that hung shredded, edges chewed. The ash below carried smooth drag marks. "Fresh," Rhea said, rubbing grit between her fingers. "Not claws. Could be a feral vampire testing the line. Could be hands. Some things test with sticks." She dusted new ash while I tied a fresh cloth. The howls walked closer, each voice taking its lane. The scout on our right, the herder steady behind, the anchor holding the far branch of the world like a gate. 3 is still a probe, Rhea said, eyes on the trees. "If 2 more join, you don't negotiate, you run." We left the seam for neutral ground. Cedar needles cushioned our steps. The field of termite mounds rose ahead, clay domes sealed tight. "Curve," Rhea said. "Always curve." They read straight lines. We curved through them. A slit opened on one mound, and a black feeler tasted the air. A blunt, wrong head lifted, turned toward the howls, and slipped back inside like a thought retreating. We moved on. The mounds pulsed in a faint rhythm, like a heartbeat pushed into dirt. I didn't want to know what beat it. The dry creek bed cut the forest like a scar. Its floor was cracked silt and stones. Its walls were woven roots, thick and tangled, alive with a slow patience that made my skin crawl. Rhea lifted a hand. "Listen, the roots in these walls are alive. If you move too close, they'll snatch you. They hate weight, heat, and panic. Stay center. Stay fast. If they catch you, you scream and go still. I'll cut you free, but you'll leave skin." I looked into the throat of the creek and believed her. We dropped down. Dust puffed under our boots. Old tracks lined the floor. Boot tread from the village. Bare prints with long toes. A wide smear that looked like a hand with 6 fingers dragged sideways. The air felt cooler here. Quieter too, like sound had to ask permission. The scout's call bounced between the walls and came back bigger. Rhea shoved a fresh flare into my palm. On my call. Copy. We ran the middle line. Roots twitched along the walls like sleeping snakes sensing footsteps. The slow howl pressed behind us, steady. The deep voice shifted left, setting the block. The high one darted right, tightening the angle. I felt the circle close like a fist. Then 2 more voices entered from the trees ahead. 1 sharp and young, 1 hoarse and old. 5. The sound of certainty. Rhea didn't have to explain it. Hunt, she said. They're done testing. We sprinted. The creek funneled the sound of our breath back at us. Roots stirred, slow and greedy. Rhea's voice came harsh but clear. Stay middle. Don't let the walls touch you. The pack poured into the creek behind us. I didn't have to look to know it. You can hear confidence. It slaps stone with a certain rhythm. It says we know how this ends. The roots woke. Tangles uncoiled from the walls and flicked into the air, thin at first, then thick as wrists. They waved across the creek like weeds in a current, feeling for heat. A dogman hit the first squirrel and snapped at it, as if it were a vine. The root whipped tight around its calf and jerked it sideways into the wall. Wood split. Creature snarled and slashed, tearing fibers until blood striped its leg. More roots felt that struggle and joined. They wrapped the thigh and the waist and bit down with a strength that felt like stone learning to move. Another dogman bounded past and leapt the middle, only to land on a mesh of hidden roots that rose under its weight, like a net surfacing from a lake. It crashed, rolled, and slashed free with claws, but it was slow now. The pack's rhythm broke. Go, Rhea said. This is the only window we get. We ran the center line while the creek ate our hunters. Roots whipped at my shins when I strayed a step wide. I snapped my legs in tight and kept my eyes on the silt ahead. The air filled with the sound of tearing wood and animal fury. A dogman screamed as the wall flexed and took it to the shoulder. Another roared, ripped free, and stumbled with cords of root, still hanging from its haunches like pale leeches. The anchor's deep voice thundered orders that weren't words, just force, just shape, just a command for the world to obey. Bend ahead, Rhea called, pointing with her chin. We climb there. The wall is lower. Roots are thicker, but the angle's better. Copy, I said, breath hot in my mouth. We hit the bend. The walls leaned toward each other. Roots knotted so dense they looked like ribs. Rhea grabbed a handful and pulled to test them. They flexed, but held, fast as you can. Don't linger. If a root catches, cut once, not a dozen times, or the whole wall wakes. We climbed. The roots felt warm. They shivered under my hands like cattails taking a breath. One tendril slid from my wrist and I snapped my grip to another hold. It missed by a fingernail and curled back with a slow, patient frustration that made me cold. Below us, the pack fought the creek. One dogman had roots across its chest like bands. It bit through one, then another, short teeth cracking fibers, breath coming in furious grunts. A second charged our bend and leapt, sure of its legs, sure of its endgame. A root snagged a back paw midair and swung it into the wall with a sick slap. It hit, bounced, and tried again with a roar that shook dust off the ribs of wood around us. Rhea's boot slipped and a root caught her laces. It tightened. She didn't panic. She stabbed once with her knife. The root split and recoiled. She moved up 3 grips in a blink. You're good, she said, as if telling me was the same as making it true. A flare hissed out behind us. The hiss died fast. A sound of claws on wood came on louder, angrier. The anchor had found its stride and was dragging roots off its shoulder, like a warrior tearing spears from a shield. It would be up our wall in seconds if we stall. Up, Rhea said, breath harsh. Up, up. We hit the lip together and rolled into sword fern. The ground here was springy with moss and rotten wood. We didn't stand right away. We belly crawled 10 feet to avoid the grab of the upper roots and only rose when trunks replaced the writhing wall. We ran into brush. The pack roared behind us. 2 were still trapped, 1 half free, the anchor climbing, the scout already airborne from a lower bend trying to cut us off. We cut right toward a stand of young birch. White trunks flared like bones in dim light. The ground firmed. Mine road, Rhea said between breaths. 50 yards. Straight line. Use it. We broke out onto the old road, gravel swallowed by moss, birch and alder gripping both sides. The air changed. Sound ran straighter. Space felt honest, for the first time all day. We stopped dead. The Bigfoot marker line crossed the road at a new angle. Triangles reset. Stones notched in fresh positions. A shaved stick pointed toward the village like an accusation. The ash was dry and clean. It broke, I said. Before noon, Rhea said, touching ash to her nose. Bigfoot either claimed the road or something shoved them. A soft knock came from the brush to our right. 3 even taps. Another 3. Measured, patient. Don't answer, Rhea said. Skinwalker call. The knocking turned to a voice. Jerome's voice, warm and tired and trusted. Rhea, it said. Help me, please. He's in the village, she said. Keep your eyes forward, the voice tried again. Rhea, bring Corey. It said my name like it owned it. Every hair on my arms stood up. I kept my eyes on the reset triangles. Borders flexed like muscle. The seam had shifted toward us. The road was no longer neutral. Nothing about the world here was neutral. Behind us, the creek spit out a survivor. Heavy feet hit the road. The anchor had reached open ground. Its breath rumbled with anger and triumph. Bark cracked where it put a hand to a trunk. It was hurt and proud and still plenty fast. Pick, Rhea said, voice flat. Road means we walk into Bigfoot rules. Brush means the pack runs us down in 10 seconds. Road, I said. Bigfoot, respect lines. Teeth don't. We stepped across the boundary, palms open, no weapons raised. Ash clung to the air like bitter smoke. The Skinwalker kept talking in Jerome's voice. Rhea, it said from the right. I can't walk. Don't look, Rhea said. It borrows what you trust. We didn't look. We didn't answer. We walked the marker line like a thin bridge between cliffs. The road bent around a boulder. The air changed again, colder and taller, like a cathedral with no roof. A Bigfoot stepped out of the trees ahead, brown fur matted with rain, shoulders thick as stumps. An eye that looked at us the way a teacher looks at children who've wandered into the wrong room. Rhea lowered her head and opened her hands. I copied her. We didn't speak. We didn't move. We let the road and the markers and the old rules stand between us and it. The pack gathered behind us on gravel, not rushing now, not brave enough to cross the line they hate. The Bigfoot watched us for a long breath. It looked past us at the creek, at the road, at the reset markers, at the place where every piece of the world touched. It huffed, low and heavy, a sound that filled my ribs. Then it turned its head toward the village, like it was listening to a storm far away. Walk, Rhea whispered. Slow, don't show your back. We walked, slow steps. Open hands, the dogman paced the road's edge and didn't cross. The Skinwalker whispered from the brush and we didn't answer. The The Bigfoot stood, breathing like a hill that had learned to move, and watched us pass through its law. We didn't run until the road pinched down and the markers fell behind. When we did, it wasn't panic. It was survival at a measured pace. The way you move when the world has rules and you've obeyed enough of them to be allowed to breathe. At the next bend, the village's outer watchtower rose above the trees like a black tooth. Torches burned along the wall. A bell hung ready. The gate plate waited under a sheet of rainwater and ash. Rhea didn't hit it yet. She crouched at the road's edge and looked back. I looked too. The dogmen were silhouettes in birch shadow. The Skinwalker had gone quiet. The Bigfoot was a darker dark between trunks, still watching. "Proof," she said, voice low. She lifted the chewed red cloth from her belt and the gray grit from her palm. "We show Jerome." The scene broke. "We need a council." I nodded, but my eyes were already on the creek line in my head, on the bend where the roots thickened, on the way they moved for weight and heat, on the idea of wood that wakes up and is a living entity. It seemed as if everything in the rift was alive. "Corey," Rhea said. "Yeah." "You with me?" "I'm with you," I said, and meant it. I was with her until the next map formed under my feet, until the next pattern showed me a seam wide enough to pry open. We hit the plate together. Metal rang once. The gate slid. The village took us in. The gates closed behind us with a slam of wood and iron. I stood there, breathing like I had been holding my lungs shut for hours. Villagers swarmed the square, checking weapons, stringing ash lines tighter, torches flaring as shadows thickened in the trees. No one relaxed, even inside the wall. Jerome came down from the watchtower. His face was cut with exhaustion, but his eyes were sharp. Rhea handed him the chewed cloth and the grit of ash she had gathered. He studied them like scripture, then nodded once. "The seam broke," he said. Dogmen pressed. Bigfoot shifted. "Balance is cracking." "5 of them," Rhea added. "Full hunt." "Roots slowed too, but the rest are free." Jerome's jaw worked. "That means they're testing how close they can push. Tomorrow they'll try the wall." I dropped onto a bench near the fire pit. My legs were trembling, my chest still tight. The image of the Bigfoot standing on the road wouldn't leave my mind. "That Bigfoot," I said. "It didn't attack." Jerome crouched, so I had to meet his stare. Bigfoot live by old rules, borders, markers. You respect them, and sometimes they let you walk out. Forget their rules, and they break you in silence. Don't mistake patience for mercy. He straightened, then raised his voice so everyone heard. "Council at first light. We redraw maps. No one steps beyond the line until we know what moved." The fire cracked. People muttered but obeyed. No one wanted to hear about shrinking borders, but everyone knew survival meant accepting them. That night, I lay on a bunkhouse cot with 10 others, listening to the forest hum beyond the wall. My mind wouldn't quiet. I kept replaying the chase in the creek bed, the way the roots had moved like muscles, the way the rift seemed to breathe. If it breathed, it had rhythms. If it had rhythms, then somewhere in that cycle, it had to open. Morning came gray and wet. Smoke drifted over the square as the council gathered at the metal sheet they used as a map. Knife scratches marked zones. Dogmen ground. Feral vampire land. Lake Basin. Bigfoot territory. Blank patches where no one came back. Jerome tapped the mine road seam with a scarred finger. Here's where it broke. Bigfoot shifted. Dogmen pressed. That makes the road contested. We won't use it for trade runs until it stabilizes. A woman with a spear asked, "What about the basin scene?" Jerome's gaze slid toward the south. "That's what worries me. If the mine road cracked, the basin may have shifted too. We can't afford to lose both at once." His eyes found me. "You'll check it. Dusk patrol. Rhea leads. You follow." My gut knotted. Patrol again, already. But dusk made sense. If the seam had shifted, they needed to know before night swallowed it whole. When the day bled into gold and shadow, Rhea found me at the gate. She handed me a cleaner spear, obsidian head fixed tight, and a pouch of fresh ash. Stay sharp. We're only checking the basin line. In and out. Why dusk? I asked. Because seams flex when the light changes, she said. Borders reset at dawn and dusk. If we don't see it now, we wake up with dogmen at the wall. The gate opened with a grind of chains. We slipped into the trees. The forest pressed in quick, as if it knew daylight was almost gone. We moved quiet until the ridge opened ahead. The basin stretched below, a black mirror of water. Fog coiled across its surface. My stomach sank at the sight. I remembered the reptilian shape I had seen rise from it before, long and slick, teeth jagged as stone. Rhea crouched, scanning the waterline. We're not here to fight. We're here to see if the seam moved. Watch the shore for new markers. Look for fresh gouges, piles of stone, broken branches stacked wrong. We crept closer, careful on the ridge. The water shifted once, a ripple spreading slow. A head broke the surface. Long snout, scaled ridges, eyes glowing faint yellow through fog. It didn't climb out. It just watched us from the black water. Rhea kept her voice low. They don't always leave the basin. But if you give them your back, they'll surge. Keep facing it until we're clear. We edged along the ridge, never turning, eyes locked on the thing. The glow of its eyes tracked us, unblinking, until the trees swallowed it again. Only then did Rhea let out a breath. That's why we never drink from the basin, she said. Even thirst is safer. We followed the line another quarter mile. At first, the markers looked normal. Old bones stacked, sticks shaved and bent toward the trees. Then, we found it. A pile of stones reset at a new angle. Fresh gouges on bark, ash disturbed as if swept by a giant hand. The seam moved, Rhea muttered. She rubbed the disturbed ash between her fingers. Bigfoot pulled back. I frowned. So dogmen are pressing from this side too. She gave a single grim nod. They're tightening the ring. Before I could answer, the forest answered for me. A knock came from our left. 3 sharp taps. Then silence. Skinwalker. Rhea froze, hand raised. The knock came again. Then my voice followed it. Cory, it called. My exact voice. Over here. The words hit harder than the knock. My throat went dry. Don't answer, Rhea said. Don't even think about it. The voice tried again, smoother, louder. Cory, I see a way out. Come with me. Every muscle in my body wanted to turn. To believe. To look. But I kept my eyes on the seam, on the ash disturbed at my feet. My fists clenched around the spear until my knuckles hurt. The forest grew quiet again. No more knock. No more voice. Just silence heavy enough to make my chest ache. Rhea whispered, Good. That's how you live. We moved fast. No more checking. No more slowing. We just needed to make it back before the rift changed again. The village fires glowed faint ahead. Relief sparked in my chest. Then a howl ripped the air. Not 3 voices. Not 5, 7. Rhea's head snapped toward me. Run. Branches slapped my arms as we sprinted. The howls folded together, circling, pressing in. Shapes moved between trees, yellow eyes burning. The pack had grown. 7 meant no games, no probes, no waiting. It meant death, unless the rift itself decided to interrupt again. The wall loomed ahead. Guards shouted. Torches flared. The gate groaned open. The ground behind us shook with pounding paws. Claws tore at earth. I didn't look back. We dove through the opening as the gate slammed shut behind us. Wood shuddered under impact as the dogmen hit it full force. The wall held, but the sound of their fury rattled my teeth. I sprawled on the dirt, lungs burning. Rhea stood over me, her face hard. "You made it through your second run," she said. "That's more than most. Get used to it. This is the rift." I lay there staring up at the sky where no stars shone, only drifting fog. My mind spun on the same thought it had since the creek. The rift breathes. It shifts. If it breathes, it has rhythms. And if it has rhythms, somewhere, sometime, it has to open. And when it does, I'll be ready. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to Descent into the Unknown for more horror content. If you have any real cryptid encounters, or you're a horror writer wanting to share your stories, please feel free to email me in the description anytime.